Hello, beautiful combabes. Welcome to episode 6. And I'm here with Julia.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about feminism, and we're also at the same time going to do a review of all the K-beauty products that I've kind of bought on a whim. Yeah. I mean, they look good. They look really good.
They do.
Yeah, we're going to talk about feminism, and we're especially going to talk about liberal feminism, actually. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a critique of liberal feminism. And for anyone who's wondering, why do they want to, say bad things about feminism? Isn't it great that feminism is, mainstream and that everyone's talking about it? And that's literally not what we're saying at all. We are feminists ourselves, but we want to make it clear that when we say feminism and when, the CEO of a company says feminism, we don't mean the same thing at all. Mm-hmm. And that's the distinction that we want to make. For the purposes of making it a little bit more clear, we're going to make a distinction between liberal feminism and rouge feminism, because we're in the makeup industry. But basically red feminism and given a little K-beauty tinge.
Mm-hmm. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how we're different from liberal feminism, but in other videos, we're going to be talking about how our rouge feminism is different from far-right feminism, from trans and sex worker exclusionary radical feminism, and essentially why they're total bullshit.
So we've got 10 minutes, and we're going to do some sort of really quick myth-busting of liberal feminism, just so you have your keys, your wallet, and you're ready to go on this radical, wild journey of feminism with us. Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Let's go! So I'll be starting off this K-beauty review by doing a foundation. Well, it's not really a foundation, it's more like a skin tint. It's really light and airy. You're gonna love it. It'll be great.
I love it. I love it. I'm excited.
And you're gonna tell me about liberal feminism.
Yes, I am. Okay, so let's start by busting the myth out of liberal feminism. Liberal feminism wants equality between men and women, so gender equality, which they believe is about freedom of choice, supposedly brought to you by capitalism and a market. TM. And rouge feminism would say, well, hang on, let's talk about what the conditions of these men who we are supposedly wanting equality with. So under our current system, men are also being exploited, but obviously in different ways to women, but also to each other. So how can we really talk about equality when even these men aren't equal? When we talk about being equal, which is the only thing that we've ever been taught to really aim towards.
And that kind of equality as well.
Yeah. Is what we're really talking about with that kind of equality is being exploited, under the system.
So instead of using a concealer, because the skin tint is so basically just so light and airy, I'm gonna use her own foundation as concealer. So it's gonna be as airy basically, but with a little bit more coverage.
So liberal feminists will be no, those are not the men that we're talking about. We are talking about men in power. We want more women in power to exert power and control over loads of other people in a in a country or in a company. Yeah, and basically at the top of political institutions or
break the glass ceiling.
Yeah,
be CEOs
in the boardrooms. I'm in my conference mode where you're So rouge feminism will say, well, most of us are going to be the people under those, leaders, commands, right? So what about all the women who are in that company or in that country? Because people who are going to be better off here, so the CEOs, that's 1% of the population.
Yeah.
The rest of us will still be doing our shitty jobs on shitty pay, and we're still harassed, and we're still deported and everything. Nothing changes. Yeah. Really.
I mean, that's where CEO feminism really is just, we're all gonna be fighting for 5 people.
Yeah.
Or 10 people tops in society. It's really just...
No, it does nothing to actually challenge the structures that have been keeping all of us oppressed, right?
I went to this really, really good talk by Angela Davis, and she said something so beautiful, and it literally encapsulates everything. It's I don't want glass ceiling feminism. I want feminism for those with receding grounds. just literally what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Exactly. Like, there's like no point in one woman moving to the top of the structure if that like doesn't bring all the other women like with her, right? Which is essentially impossible under the structures that we have at the moment.
I'm gonna now move on to your eyebrows. I'm not actually gonna do anything else on your face apart from like a little bit of blush later on and like a highlighter because such pretty skin.
Oh, thank you.
But also like the skin tint thing, it's supposed to be a bit more of a dewy look. And as soon as you put powder on, you mattify everything, and like the dewy look is lost basically. So let's keep it like this, fresh and natural. It'll be nice.
Maybe some of you will be like, well, why shouldn't we celebrate like more women in power? Isn't that a step towards equality, right? And of course, like that's fair enough. We should be able to celebrate our own achievements, and it is like a sign that we've come like a really long way from times when women couldn't even vote. But like we obviously still have a really long way to go.
May is really often applauded, for being the second prime minister in the world in the UK, blah, 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 and like she deports tens of thousands of women who need asylum all the time, you know? I mean, that's not feminism for me. It's like the exact opposite, actually.
Yeah, like all they've really done is like held up this like patriarchal capitalist system that oppresses women and everyone else, because like they never really, you know, came with intentions to tackle the actual roots of oppression of women, right?
Yeah.
So like Rouge feminism would say feminism is not about replacing men where they are now with women, whether that's like at the top or the bottom of the pile, because the pile is still made of shit.
I'm gonna move on to your eyelids now, and I'm gonna use a little trick that I like to use because we're gonna talk about Rouge feminism. I want to take this old lipstick, lipstick, and I'm gonna put it on your eyes, like using my hands, just a little bit. It'll be nice.
Okay. Yeah, so essentially what we just talked about is like the crux of Rouge feminism. So let's take abortion as an example. So until last year, women in Ireland, in most cases, were not allowed to have abortions. But the problem with that is that you can't really ban abortions, right? You can only ban safe abortions.
Yeah.
So women, like most women, were left with no choice but to essentially like carry out unsafe, illegal abortions and like take the consequences like of health risks and stuff that come with it. But women who had the money and the citizenship were essentially able to like buy a plane, a hotel, and go to the UK and like
get their abortion there, basically.
Yeah, in like a private clinic. And like just in 2016, 3,000 women did that. But obviously that's not an option for like majority of the women, especially working class women and migrant women, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, like migrants and asylum seekers had to go through like weeks of red tapes and admin to get out of the country, which, you know, not only you may be denied that, but also means that you're further into the pregnancy, and when if it does happen, which increases like health risks, and obviously the cost of abortion.
Yeah.
And so like the whole system is like stacked against these women.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of like an example of how like everyone is affected, but then those who can afford it are able to like be affected less and can get away from that oppression a little bit. So actually all the rights that have been won for women, from like rights to vote or abortion rights, those were all fought by and fought for women collectively. So essentially like often through direct action also, and not just by like one powerful woman. This makes it actually like really clear that we can't really fight for liberation of all women unless we like change the whole structure, in which we place some people at the top and with like lots of power and freedom, and everybody else at the like, you know, at the expense basically of like everyone else in the world.
Left in a pile of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Because that is the problem. Like we have a pile of shit. So that's actually the whole issue that we should be addressing.
So we're going to move on to not exactly like lipstick. It's more, it's gonna tint your lips, and it's like gonna look like your lips are naturally incredibly red. So not that natural, but also not really a lipstick. which is also really great because if you use this, I mean, I've used it like so many times, and it holds for the entire day. Like even when you eat, it doesn't really get off your skin at all. Let's talk about, what are we going to talk about? Oh yeah, how patriarchy also affects men, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. This is gonna be hard while I get my lips done.
Try it. Do you like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tastes good.
I know.
Is it supposed to?
I know all the products.
Why? Let's,
I don't know.
I'm just gonna eat the whole thing. So like, unsurprisingly, this also includes men in this pile of shit. So like the patriarchy forces us into like super outdated gender roles, like which tells us what, you know, there are men and there are women according to the genitals that we're born with, and tells us like what good and bad men and women are.
Yeah.
And anyone who like slightly falls out of that kind of those limits are marginalized
And ostracized and like kicked around. And
exactly. Men are supposed to be like this kind of like tough, aggressive, providing for the family, while like the women are on the, you know, other side, like virgins, yeah, or housewives, but like sexy when you ask.
Oh yeah,
right?
and, like, you know, doing all the care work and doing all like the emotional stuff. And
Yeah, and being like submissive. I don't know about you, Clem, but for me, it's not my vagina or my boobs or my hormones who are telling me to be like sexy virgins.
No, it's my vagina.
Is it?
No, I'm kidding.
Just Clem's vagina. Like, that's the
telling all of you.
patriarchy. So all jokes aside, this is actually super harmful because it makes men feel justified for like hurting women, and women feel like they can't really, you know, call that out because it's supposed to be that way. And that has like a massive impact on the mental health of like obviously women, but also men, because they aren't allowed to talk about their feelings or build caring relationships. So they won't really know any other like ways of resolving conflict. And that's why they end up like, you know, we see like really high suicide rates and like violence towards like others. And we need to get rid of these like harmful gender binaries, right? Because that is also like, and these binaries have like no place for anybody who doesn't just identify as like a man or a woman, because gender is so much more complex than that. That doesn't mean that like women shouldn't be feminine or that men shouldn't be masculine if they want to be. Otherwise, we wouldn't be putting on makeup right now.
And I look beautiful also.
Beautiful. I want to do this, right?
It's not because you've been told to by your vagina.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's Clem's vagina. I'm just telling her to do this.
So I put a bit of highlighter on, but to make it look a little bit more natural, I'm actually going to go ahead and put something that people usually put at the beginning of their foundation. So it's a strobe luminizer. Basically, yeah, like really, really light and really, really airy. It just puts like a little bit more sheen and shine onto her cheeks. But it's going to cover the really harsh highlighter, which means that it's going to make it look more natural and like blend more easily into the skin.
Okay. So feminism, unlike popular misconception, isn't about like hating men, but in fact is about breaking down like these power relations that traps men in toxic masculinity.
And also, you can also hate men if you want to, it's fine.
If you want to. Don't hate women though. No. That's not what feminism's about.
I'm just going to finish her off. Oh no, it doesn't sound good.
Gonna finish her off.
I'm just gonna finish off with a little bit of blush, and then we'll be done.
Exciting.
All right, combabes, we are done. Look at Julia. You look so pretty.
Thank you, Clem.
Thank you so much for coming to talk about feminism. We've got like loads of other videos to do, so you were gonna see her face like a lot.
Can't get rid of me.
Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the little bell button. It might be this way, it might be that way. Click the little bell button to get all the notifications, and yeah, leave any comments about any questions or like comments that you have. We're really, really happy to answer them.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for doing this with me.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
See you soon, combabes.
Bye.